All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to adQ&A Live episode 13. Today's episode is going to be a really cool one. So today we're going to be talking about how to set up Facebook event ads. So before we get into it, let me actually show you an example of what a Facebook event ad looks like and explain a little bit about what makes them so cool and powerful and why you should consider using them for your business. So let me switch the windows here and we'll get into it. All right. I'll just make this little one here just a little bit smaller, get myself out of the way. Cool. All right, so let me show you now. Switch to the right window. Oops. We need this one here. Okay, so hopefully you can see this now. Let me just confirm and make sure. Yep. Okay, so here is an example of an event ad. And I just, kind of got a quick Google image search here, hunted all around on Facebook's own stuff, and they don't have any good images, so please excuse me. Proper credit where it's due. This is an example from WordStream, so check their thing out if you want to see more about this. But basically, here's what the actual ad looks like. So it's still like a standard Facebook ad is still going to have the logo of the page. It's going to have the page name. You still have the ability to customize, the description and headline and so forth. But you'll notice down here at the bottom, it's a little bit different because it's basically got that little calendar icon with the date, and then it will say, the where and how many people are interested, how many people are going, and so forth. And this can be a really cool and engaging, attention-grabbing way that pops out if you want to get people to a, physical event or a webinar, let's say, rather than just, signing up for a newsletter or, purchasing a product. So in our case, I wanted to actually walk through a real example. So we have a really cool seminar coming up at the end of August, really cool event that we're doing in collaboration with Google. So it's all about basically crushing e-commerce campaign performance in Q4. We're going to have speakers from Google. We're going to have speakers from ShipBob. Some people from adQuadrant itself are going to be there talking. There's something like 200 plus seats, but it's going to be invitation only, right? So we want to actually set up event ads for this. Now I'm not going to go all the way through the process and actually launch them because there's still a couple of back-end things that we need to fix, but I'll walk you through this. It's going to be at the Spruce Goose hangar in Playa Vista. It's going to be really super cool. Their office is awesome. And then we've got some speakers here that have already been announced, as mentioned, from Fight Camp and from ShipBob. And we have some speakers from our own company, and then we can have some speakers from Google as well. They're still TBD. And we got the agenda here and all this stuff, right? So ultimately what we want to do is we want to get people to get to this page, register. As I mentioned, we only have a limited number of seats, so we're not going to be able to take everyone, but the event ad is going to be a good way to put a little bit of spend behind it and kind of put our feelers out. So with that all said, let me actually walk through the process. So a couple of things that you're going to need before you get started on this is you're going to need to have the ability to manage ads actually in the appropriate ad account, and you're going to need to have the ability to manage your Facebook page as well, because the first thing you're going to need to do is set up a Facebook event. And then when you go create a campaign of a special type, which I'll show you, you're then going to be able to link the event to your event ad, right? So first things first, let's talk about how you make the event. Well, I already made it. Let me actually back up here. We'll go back to the top and I'll walk you through it. So here's our Facebook page for the company. Once I'm logged into the page sort of through Business Manager, then I can actually come in here and I can add an event. So because this part is like this, it will bring up this prompt and you'll have all these different fields that you can fill out. And it's all pretty self-explanatory. You're going to give it a name, you're going to choose a location, you're going to put in a description, give it a category, frequency, and all that stuff. So let me close this and I'll edit the one that I already created and I'll show you kind of all the details here. So let me bring this up, and then really any one of these edit buttons actually just opens kind of the whole event to edit. So right here, if I edit this, you can see all the info I plugged in. So just a placeholder image, but I've got the event name, I plugged in the location of the Spruce Goose hangar, I've got a description which is straight from our actual event page on here, or the website. I've got a category, I've got the start and end times. If you want, you can actually tag co-hosts, right? So some of those speakers, if we wanted to, we can get their Facebook usernames and we could tag them basically as co-hosts. And then this is optional, but you can set up a schedule. So I've actually gone ahead and done that, and the schedule basically just aligns to this sort of agenda, right? And then, where did I leave off? Yep, and then, so here you have a couple different options for how people can interact with the event. So because there's a limited number of seats and we need to do a little bit of kind of qualification and sort of control, who all ends up going, we're not going to choose the create ticket item. We're not like charging for attendance as far as I'm aware. Confirm attendance, so this one we don't want to use for this event because we don't have unlimited seating. This kind of a thing would work if you had a high occupancy, let's say, where you're not concerned about getting way more interest than you have seats. Or it could be good for a webinar where there's no physical limitation on how many people you can have come to the event. Now, in our case, we're using this third option, which is add ticket link. So we've plugged in our site right there so that people can come and they can register, and then if they check all the right boxes, then we'll send them the actual ticket. And then there's some additional options here. These are mostly self-explanatory. So who can post in the event, right? If somebody was going to post updates like, hey, we want to announce who the Google speaker is going to be, right? Because that was still TBD. We can make it so that anyone who has the ability to post, it could be anyone or it could be only admins of the page, basically. So in this case, we probably want to make sure this is only admins, right? We don't want just anybody posting. All right, and then people could ask questions about the event on Messenger. Don't see why not. We'll check that one. And then guest list, I think, probably for privacy reasons, we'll probably leave this one unchecked, but you have the ability to turn this on should you wish, right? That might be more appropriate if it's like a birthday party or something, an event where there's no kind of secrets there. Anywho, so hopefully this all makes sense. It's just sort of time consuming. It's not really complicated. It's just a lot of stuff to fill in. So I'm going to save the draft. I'm not going to publish this yet, because there's some additional changes. We've got to get pixels up on the site and all that stuff. So we're not ready to actually publish it. It should just be in draft format right now. Yep, shows as a draft. Now, I'm going to go through basically the campaign setup process of how we can then put some money behind this and then start to use some of the targeting options to attract the kind of people that we want to attend to this event, right? This event is really targeted towards advertising, executives, decision makers, people who are managing the media spend or directing the strategy, right? So we'll get into kind of the targeting in a sec. So cool, so now we got the event made, and now we're actually gonna set up the campaign. So let's jump in here. So this is just our internal kind of placeholder account. Don't have a lot of stuff in here right now. Please don't flame me again in the comments. I am using the new interface. I'm trying to make an effort to get familiarized with the new interface because historically I've been a Luddite and very resistant to change. And then when they finally enforce the change, I'm stuck behind the times. So bear with me. It's not that bad, I don't think. Okay, so we are going to create a new campaign. When we do this, we are going to need to make sure to pick one specific thing that's going to allow us to actually set the campaign up the way we need to. So I'm going to call this Crushing Q4 Ecom Demo, right? And I don't need to apply a label. It's not a special ad category. Buying type is just going to be auction as usual. And then the campaign objective, here's the key thing. I want to choose event responses, right? For most of our campaigns, we're using either conversions or lead generation, but for this one, we specifically need to use event responses because that's what's going to allow us to then link that event later. So we choose event responses, and then let's go ahead and create a new ad set, and we'll call this test ad set, and new ad will be called test ad, and we'll save to draft. Cool, and then we'll look at these different settings in here, and I'll kind of talk through. So right now we're editing the campaign. You can see the buying type is set to auction. The objective is event responses. So far so good. Campaign spending limit, I'm not going to specify one right now. I'm not really going to get too into the details on kind of budgeting and everything. That's sort of TBD still. Now what I'll do is I'll click into the ad set, and then we are going to start tweaking some stuff here. So daily budget, when we do eventually launch this, it's certainly going to be higher than 11 bucks a day. We do want to make sure we get some people on the top of the funnel here. Now, as far as audience, like I said, we are looking to connect to specific sort of mid to senior level people at different companies, e-com companies who are involved with advertising, right? So probably the most logical thing to do here sorry, not under custom audiences, but under detailed targeting, is to go after job titles, right? So if I go to browse and I go to demographics, and I believe it is under work, right? And then here job titles, right? So I can do a search and I can look for specific titles. So let's say I want, marketing here. So, there you go, marketing officer, marketing assistant, maybe online marketing, right? And then let's choose advertising. So maybe advertising executive, advertising director could be a good one, right? So there we go. And now, it's not a huge amount of reach. The other thing I need to do is that because this is a physical location, I do need to specify a particular radius around the event. So for this one, realistically, I'm going to remove US and I'm going to put in a specific location. So they are in Playa Vista, California. And I'm going to probably say, I'm going to max out this radius. I believe 50 miles is the biggest I can do, and that's probably about right. I think this is going to be a valuable event, and I think that we'll probably record it and potentially make that recording available later. But for people who actually want to attend in person, I'm going to assume that people are not going to be traveling 200, 300, 400 miles. I'm just going to target basically within a 50-mile radius. Cool. So you'll see that will expand. That encompasses parts of Orange County and even goes up almost to Ventura County here. So that's probably a good place to start. If I wanted to, if I wanted to get some more of this, Orange County, even potentially San Diego down here, I could add that in later. Cool. So let's just see how that's looking. And yeah, assuming I was ready to actually start this today, which I'm not, I would, leave the start date as is. We're not going to apply any saved audience to this one yet. Once we get the pixels placed, we would probably want to do a retargeting audience too of people who had visited the registration page but not actually submitted their lead, right? And we could, basically have a prospecting audience around job title targeting or maybe like advertising interests, and then we could retarget people who didn't actually submit their lead. But for now, let's see. Yeah, we want all genders. For now, we'll leave it 18 and up, but I mean, realistically, the kinds of people that are going to be in a decision-making role are probably going to be slightly older, but I'm going to try to cast a broad net here. The reach is already kind of low, so I don't really want to hamper it too much. All right, and then I don't need to add any connections. I'm not going to save the audience or anything. I'm not going to edit the placements for now, but if I was going to do this for real, I'd probably just choose like the Facebook news feed. I'd probably take off Facebook Marketplace. Doesn't look like I have the ability to turn off some of this other stuff. Cool. Now here is the optimization for ad delivery. I want event response, right? I'm not trying to get impressions. I actually want people to respond to the event, right? And what I could actually do is, yeah, this is fine. Cool. So cost controls, I'm not going to put that in there right for now. If you refer back to one of the older episodes where we talked about like lowest cost, target cost, and all that stuff, you can see that in a cost cap, bid cap, we have some of those options here. Well, it looks like I don't have the ability to do target cost with this campaign type. There are some things that don't always unlock there based on the campaign type. Cool, so looks like the campaign settings are pretty much where I want them. Now at the ad level, this is basically where you're gonna create that linkage. And again, I'm not ready to post this just yet, so, and my event is in a draft mode, so I'm gonna show you how you would do it, but I'm not gonna kind of take that last step. So let me actually go edit the ad level. So here, for the Facebook page, I'm actually going to, bear with me a second, I need to hide this window for a second just in case every single client name pops up here. Don't want to get murdered. Let's see, so adQuadrant, there we go. All right, so we'll pick that one. All right, sorry, let me turn this back on. Cool. All right, so I just picked the adQuadrant Facebook page. And then here's where you can put in your media, right? So if you want an image or you want a video, you're not limited to just using that one thumbnail that you associated with your event, right? So if I go back to the event, I just have this kind of placeholder graphic here. You're not locked into using that. You actually can overwrite that with media of your choosing, right? And then you can put in your text, right? So in this case, I could say whatever, sign up for this exclusive, e-commerce, conference, before seats run out or whatever, right? So I'll, put in the copy there, no big mystery about how this stuff works. And then this basically is the spot where I would link the event. Now, because I set up the event as a draft, I actually will not be able to select it from the list right now. So this will only have other events in there. So I'm not going to click that for now, but that is where you do that. And then of course, from a tracking perspective, if I wanted to add in any parameters, UTM source equals, Facebook, and UTM medium equals social, whatever UTM params I want to have in there. Again, I won't go through like all of the campaign management stuff, just this is all the basic stuff that you're usually going to apply to a normal ad, you would also be able to apply to an event ad. And that's basically it. So you essentially are going to link your event, which you hopefully have already published. We didn't, again, because we're not ready to yet. And then you are going to put in your relevant image and video, and then you're basically good, right? And then it's basically just watching that. Now, one really cool thing, I should have mentioned this at the beginning, one cool thing about event ads is that if somebody responds that they're interested, you can actually hit them up on Messenger and remind them. That's really cool because Facebook has been placing more and more restrictions on kind of when and how you can engage with people over Messenger. So historically, it's been the case that people have to opt into Messenger communications. But if you think about some of the solutions out there like Shop Message, where you're going through a checkout flow and there's a little checkbox that's super small that says, send to Messenger. You used to be able to kind of pre-check those things, and you could kind of sneak it in where, people may not realize that they're enrolling in Messenger communications. Well, these days, you're not allowed to pre-check that anymore. And it's a little bit harder to get people to opt into Messenger communications. What's cool with this is that the event ad, if somebody basically gets interested, they're basically automatically opting into Messenger communications. There's still some limitations about how much you can hit them up, so you can't be just spamming them every 5 minutes. Not that you would want to do that, but you still have to have some guidelines there. And yeah, so that's a really big one. So then, of course, you have their email address, presumably because they gave it to you. But now you've got a pretty surefire way of getting in touch with them. Maybe they didn't put in their accurate phone number or email address, and you're potentially gonna have a hard time getting in touch with them. But because they would have had to have signed up through Facebook, right? Well, in order to have seen your event ad in the first place, now you can for sure hit them up on Messenger, right? Assuming they have it installed. Cool. Okay, I think that's about all there is to say about that for now. So I will probably cut it off here. Hit us up as usual in the comments if you have any questions. I'm Nick Sinitra. This is adQ&A Live. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time.